The sentence from the stars, the trial was over. Inside the glowing court chamber of the Viralan Empire, hundreds of alien eyes stared in silence. All of them looked down at one young alien girl, kneeling in chains of blue plasma. Her name was Zarala Veyrin, daughter of a noble family, known for her pride and beauty across the stars. She had broken a law, a serious one. She had refused to bow before the Emperor's son during a public ceremony. On her planet, this was an insult, worse than war. The judge, an old alien with silver horns, spoke in a cold voice. Zarala Veyrin, your crime dishonors the throne. For this, you shall not die. Instead, you will live as punishment. You are hereby given to a human male. You will serve him on his world as his slave. Gasps echoed through the court. Zarala's eyes widened. A human? To be handed over to one of those backward, violent creatures from the planet Earth? This was not justice. This was humiliation. "This is madness," Zarala shouted. "You would give me to a creature with no honor?" "You shame our kind," the judge ignored her words. Let her learn what shame truly feels like. She was dragged away, kicking and shouting. Her people looked away, not one stood for her. Even her mother and father, seated among the high seats, did not move. 3 days later, a transport ship landed on a quiet farming moon near Earth's outer colonies. Zarala, dressed in a dull brown robe, stepped off the ramp. Her wrists were no longer in chains, but her pride was in pieces. A human man waited for her. He was tall, with short brown hair and a calm face. He wore old clothes, dusty boots, and had kind, tired eyes. His name was Jacob Fenn. She expected him to smile like a monster, or look at her like a thing to own. Instead, he just said in a quiet voice, "You must be Zarala. Welcome." She said nothing. He turned and walked toward his small homestead, a wooden home built on top of green hills. No guards, no cages, just nature, wind, and silence. Zarala followed, eyes sharp, body tense. She scanned everything, looking for hidden weapons or traps, but there were none. Inside, Jacob showed her a simple room, a soft bed, fresh food, clean clothes. "You're not my prisoner," he said. "You're not even really a slave to me. You're just someone who needs a place to stay." Zarala narrowed her eyes. "Is this one of your human tricks? Try to be kind and then take everything when I sleep?" Jacob chuckled, not cruelly. "No tricks. Just tired of being part of a system that breaks people." She didn't trust him. Not one bit. So she stayed silent, standing in the corner of the room like a statue. Hours passed. Jacob didn't force her to eat, didn't make her talk. When night fell, he placed a blanket on the floor beside the door and said, "If you want to run, I won't stop you. But if you want to stay, I'll try to treat you like a person, not a punishment." Then he turned and left her alone. That night, Zarala stared at the stars from the window. She remembered her palace, the shining towers of Virel Prime, the music, the perfume, the adoration of the crowds. Now she was on a dirt-covered moon, in a wooden room, owned by a man who refused to own her. "What is this place?" she whispered to herself. "And who is this strange human?" The next morning, she awoke to the smell of food, fresh bread, spiced roots, sweet tea. Jacob was in the kitchen humming a tune. When he saw her, he gave a small nod. "Eat if you like. No orders here." Zarala sat down, slowly, carefully. She touched the bread, expecting poison, but it was warm, soft, real. She took a bite, and for the first time in days she didn't feel angry, just confused. Why wasn't he treating her like a slave? Why did he look at her like she was more? Far away, in the shadows of deep space, someone watched the feed from a hidden camera, planted inside her robe. The alien watching spoke to a dark figure beside him. "The girl is starting to change. This human, he may be more dangerous than we thought." The human who wouldn't command Zarala did not sleep well the second night. She kept waking up to silence. Not the kind of silence she knew in royal chambers, filled with soft music and warm air. This silence was strange. Cold wind brushed against the walls. Insects made clicking sounds outside. There were no guards, no servants, no watchers. Just her and the human. She sat up from the bed Jacob had given her. She stared at the door. It wasn't locked, not even closed. "Is this a trap?" she whispered. In her world, kindness always hid something dark. But here, she didn't understand the game. Early morning light shone through the wooden shutters. Zarala stepped out of her room quietly. She expected Jacob to be watching her, ready to give orders. Instead, she found him outside the house, bent over the soil, hands muddy. He was farming, just planting seeds. This powerful human, this owner she had been given to, was out here, working like a common servant. "You work with your hands?" she asked. Jacob looked up and smiled. "Food won't grow itself. I could use help. But only if you want to." He pointed to an extra pair of gloves. Zarala's pride stopped her from taking them. She turned and walked away without answering. But something strange happened inside her that morning. She didn't like the way he smiled. It wasn't cruel, it wasn't fake, it was real. Later, when she explored the small house, she found something that shook her even more. In one of the dusty rooms, hidden beneath a cloth, was a hologram photo. It showed 3 alien girls, different species, all standing beside Jacob, all smiling, all gone. Zarala stepped back. Her hands trembled. Each of these girls, were they like her? Had they also been sent here as punishment? Where were they now? She turned sharply when Jacob entered the room behind her. "You found them." He didn't sound angry, just sad. "They were sent here before you. One tried to run. She didn't survive the forest. One fell sick. One took her own life." Zarala's heart thudded. Why do they keep sending girls to you?" "Because I don't treat them like toys," Jacob said softly. "And the galaxy sees that as a worse punishment than chains." She looked at him with wide eyes. "You were kind. And they hated you for it?" Jacob nodded once. "I don't want slaves. I want peace. But peace makes powerful people nervous." That night, Zarala sat outside under the twin moons. The wind was cold, but the stars were bright. She stared up at them and remembered how she once called herself a daughter of light. Now she didn't know who she was. Suddenly, she heard something behind her, a soft sound, too quiet for Jacob's heavy steps. She turned fast. A shadow was moving at the edge of the trees. A figure, watching her. Zarala's body froze. Was I followed? She backed away. But before she could call out, the figure vanished into the darkness. She rushed inside. "Jacob, someone's outside." He grabbed a flashlight and his old plasma tool. "Stay inside. Lock the door." She did, but her heart didn't slow down. Not even when he came back and said, "Whoever it was, they're gone." That night, Zarala didn't sleep at all. In the early morning, she stepped outside the house before sunrise. The forest still held shadows, but she didn't look afraid. She walked to the field where Jacob was working again. This time she picked up the gloves without a word. Jacob glanced at her. "You don't have to." "I know," she said. They worked side by side, not as master and slave, not as enemies, but as 2 strangers, slowly beginning to understand each other. High above, on a stealth ship hidden in orbit, alien soldiers watched the live footage from her tracking device. One of them spoke into a comm. "The human has changed her," the commander replied coldly. "Then begin the preparation. If she bonds with him, we may have to erase them both." Her blood on his hands. The scream tore through the forest. Zarala was nowhere in sight. Jacob had only turned his back for a few minutes. One moment she was gathering herbs near the edge of the clearing. The next, the air echoed with her sharp cry, and a heavy crash. He dropped the tools and ran. Leaves whipped his face as he sprinted between trees. His boots pounded the mossy floor. Birds scattered. Then he saw it. Zarela, lying still, her leg caught in an alien predator trap. Spikes of bone and metal had clamped around her ankle. Blood stained the grass. Her face was pale, her sharp eyes full of pain and fear. "Jacob," she gasped, barely able to speak. He didn't hesitate. He knelt beside her and placed his hands around the trap. "Hold still. This will hurt." "Wait! Don't touch!" But he pulled. Metal shrieked. The trap fought back. Zarala bit down on her own arm to keep from screaming. The blood soaked Jacob's hands. Still, he kept going. Finally, the trap snapped open. He lifted her gently, holding her like she weighed nothing. She expected him to leave her on the ground, but he didn't. He ran with her in his arms back to the cabin, fast and silent. Inside, he placed her on the bed and grabbed his medkit. Her ankle was bruised, pierced, bleeding, but not broken. Zarela blinked at him. "You could have left me." "You should have. I was meant to suffer." Jacob shook his head, cleaning her wound. "No one is meant to suffer. That's a lie the galaxy tells to stay in power. I insulted you. I refused to help. I even tried to escape, and you still risked your life for me?" Jacob looked up, eyes calm but fierce. "Yes, because you're not the enemy." Her breath caught. Something inside her shifted. Over the next 2 days, she couldn't walk, so Jacob carried her. He made food, changed her bandages, sat by her side when she woke up from nightmares. He told no stories, asked no questions. He just stayed. One night she asked him, "Who hurt you?" Jacob looked surprised. "Why do you think I've been hurt?" "Because only the broken treat others with gentleness. Only the ones who understand pain don't cause more." Jacob gave a small smile. "That's smart thinking." Then after a long silence, he said, "I was a soldier once. I was forced to guard alien prisoners. My orders were to treat them like animals. One day, I didn't obey. I freed them. What happened? I lost everything." Zarela whispered, "So did I." The next morning, she tried to stand and fell. Jacob caught her before she hit the ground. He didn't laugh, didn't scold. He just helped her sit back down and said, "Healing takes time. Don't rush it." Her eyes met his. For the first time, she wasn't thinking about escaping. For the first time, she felt safe. That night, she stood near the window while Jacob cooked dinner. She looked at her reflection in the glass, her alien tattoos, her sharp jawline, her golden eyes. She looked like a warrior, but inside, she felt like something was changing. She touched the glass. Who am I now? In space, the hidden ship's scanners buzzed. The commander watched Zarela's vitals rise. Faster heart rate, emotional spikes, neurochemicals indicating trust, he hissed. "She's bonding." The second in command frowned. "Should we intervene?" "Not yet," the commander growled. "Let her fall fully. Then we strike. Let them both believe in peace. Before we burn it." Back on the moon, Zarela sat by the fire after dinner. Jacob handed her a warm mug. She looked into the flames and spoke softly. "Thank you for bleeding for me." He tilted his head. "You bled too." She smiled, small, uncertain. "Maybe we're both broken." "Maybe," he said, "but broken things can still be beautiful." And in that moment, something strange and powerful bloomed between them. Something that terrified her more than chains ever did. Trust. The signal. Beneath her skin, Zarela was healing, but something else inside her had started to hurt. It wasn't her ankle. It was a pressure deep in her chest. A strange ache she had never felt before. It came every time Jacob smiled at her. Every time he said nothing but still made her feel safe. every time he helped her without expecting anything back. She had never feared kindness before. But this scared her more than the Empire ever had. Jacob didn't speak much that day. He worked in the greenhouse fixing broken pipes. Zerala sat on the porch in silence, a blanket over her shoulders. Her ankle was better now. She could walk short steps. But she stayed close. There was something comforting about watching him work, focused, gentle. Not a single trace of the monster she had expected. She looked at her hands. The golden tattoos shimmered softly in the light, symbols of her status, of the girl she used to be. "What am I now?" she whispered. Suddenly, a sharp pain cut through her chest. Zerala gasped and clutched her ribs. It wasn't from her injury. Something inside her body buzzed. In the privacy of her room, she peeled away part of her collar. And there it was, glowing faintly beneath her skin. A hidden device, pulsing with light, a subdermal tracker. Inserted. During her trial, she never knew it was there. She touched it. It pulsed again. "They're watching me." Her blood ran cold. Zerala stared in the mirror, her golden eyes wide with panic. All this time, every smile, every tear. They saw everything. The court, the commanders, her people. Her connection to Jacob was not private, not safe. "They'll come for him," she said. "They'll think I'm weak. They'll think I've betrayed them." For the first time, she wasn't afraid. For herself. She was afraid for him. That evening, she hid her shaking hands as they ate dinner. Jacob noticed. "You're quiet today." "Just tired," she lied. He nodded, respectful as always. Never pushed, but she couldn't keep it inside. Later that night, as he cleaned up in the kitchen, she stepped forward. "Jacob, if someone came for me, would you give me up?" He looked up sharply, his eyes narrowed. "Why would someone come for you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled the neckline of her shirt and showed him the tracker light under her skin. Jacob's face darkened. "How long?" "I don't know, since the trial, I think." "Then everything we've done, they've seen it?" She nodded. Silence filled the room like thick fog. Jacob turned and walked outside. Zerala followed. Under the stars, Jacob stood with his fists clenched. "They'll come," he said. "Not for you, to punish me, to make an example." Zerala felt a chill run down her back. "What will you do?" "What I always do," he said. "I'll stand between the monsters and the ones they want to hurt. Even if it means dying." Jacob looked at her, calm and certain. Especially then, the next morning, Zerala sat alone on the hill near the greenhouse. She closed her eyes and placed 2 fingers over the tracker. She focused her thoughts, her anger, her pain. "If you're watching, then hear this. I am not your property, not your message, not your warning to others. You gave me to this human to break me, but you made a mistake. He didn't break me. He healed me. So come if you want, but if you hurt him..." She opened her eyes. "I'll show you what a so-called slave can do." Inside the hidden warship orbiting the moon, alarms started to beep. The tracker had just broadcast an emotional spike, a warning, and a signal, one that could not be ignored. The commander slammed his hand on the table. "Prepare a team, full weapons, no mercy." "What about the human? We burn the house. We leave no survivors." On the ground, Jacob stood in his cabin doorway, sharpening an old blade. Zerala stepped up beside him. "They're coming." He nodded. "Then we'll welcome them. Together." When fire fell from the sky, a single light in the sky broke the morning calm. It wasn't a sun. It wasn't a star. It was a warship. Zerala saw it first. Just a flicker above the clouds, silent and distant. But her alien blood knew what it meant. That shape, that movement, it was a hunter's signal. "They're here," she said softly. Jacob didn't answer. He was already checking his defenses: power lines, backup power cells, drone turrets half buried in the soil. His quiet farm, once a place of peace, now stood like a hidden fortress. "Get inside," he said. "No." She stood by him. He looked at her. "You don't have to fight." "But I want to." And in that moment, something passed between them. No chains, no titles, no fear. Just two souls standing for each other. The sky cracked open. A dark, sharp-shaped shuttle sliced through the clouds like a blade. It dropped fast, landing near the tree line, sending birds flying. Dust and leaves scattered as the door opened. From the smoke stepped 4 armored aliens. Elite, Virellan enforcers. Each wore black steel and carried long plasma spears. Their leader wore a red sash. Zarala recognized him. "Commander Verak," she whispered. He had once trained her as a child. Now he looked at her with disgust. "You were royalty," Verak growled. "Now you're dirt." Jacob stepped forward calmly. "If you came for a fight, say it plainly," Verak sneered. "We came to erase a mistake." The soldiers moved fast, too fast for untrained eyes. But Jacob had lived through wars. He wasn't just a farmer. In seconds, his old reflexes woke up. His foot slammed a hidden plate, activating auto defenses. Energy barriers surged around the house. Drones rose from the bushes with glowing red eyes. The aliens charged anyway. Zarala didn't freeze. She moved like lightning, grabbing one of Jacob's spare stun sticks. Her injured leg still hurt, but rage burned hotter than pain. One soldier lunged at her. She ducked, spun, and slammed the stick into his chest. He dropped like a stone. Another charged. Jacob intercepted, blade clashing against spear. Sparks flew. Jacob kicked hard, knocking the alien backward into a wall of thorns. "You fight like a death worlder," Verak shouted. Jacob didn't smile. "Maybe Earth isn't as weak as you thought." One of the soldiers reached the cabin and tossed a plasma grenade toward the door. Zarala screamed, "No!" Jacob dove for it, catching it mid-air, and tossed it straight back. The explosion lit the trees in fire. 2 aliens screamed, one crawling, one silent. Smoke and fire wrapped around the homestead. Zarala limped forward, grabbing a fallen spear. She faced Verak. "You taught me to fight. You told me to never show weakness." Verak raised his own weapon. "And look what you became. A pet to a human." "No," she said fiercely, "I became free." She attacked. The fight was brutal. Sparks lit the sky. Branches burned. The ground shook with blasts. Verak struck fast, trying to stab her shoulder. She blocked with the spear shaft, twisting, countering, cutting. Jacob fought nearby, outnumbered, but calm, precise. His blade carved arcs through smoke. They fought back to back, 2 against many, and they held. At last, only Verak stood, bleeding, growling. He aimed a wrist cannon at Jacob's chest. "She's mine," he hissed. "By law, by blood." Zarala stepped in front of Jacob. "Not anymore." Verak fired. Zarala raised the stolen shield. The blast struck. Pain exploded through her. She dropped. Jacob caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was burned. Her eyes fluttered. "Zarala, stay with me." She smiled weakly. "You didn't run?" "Never." Verak aimed again, but Jacob stood now, eyes filled with cold fire. "She was never yours." With a roar, Jacob charged. He disarmed. The commander slammed his blade into the cannon and sent Verak crashing into the burning grass. Jacob stood over him. "Go back to your empire," he growled. "Tell them she chose freedom." Verak crawled into the shuttle. It took off, smoke trailing behind. Jacob lifted Zarala in his arms and carried her into the cabin. He laid her gently on the bed. "You saved me," she whispered. "No," he said. "You saved me first." Outside, the fire began to die, but something new burned between them. Stronger, brighter, something the Empire could never control. Her chains were never real. The fire was gone, but its smell still clung to the air, and ash floated like black snow around the cabin. Inside, Jacob sat beside the bed, holding Zarala's hand. Her breathing was slow, but steady. The plasma wound on her side had been cleaned and sealed. Her golden skin, though bruised, still glowed in the soft light. She opened her eyes. "Is it over?" she asked. Jacob gave a small nod. "They're gone. For now. And you're still here," she whispered. He smiled gently. "I'm not going anywhere." Zarala lay in silence for a long time. Her body hurt. But something deeper had changed inside her. She wasn't afraid anymore. Not of him. Not of the Empire. Not even of herself. She looked at her arm where the tracker used to pulse. Jacob had removed it during the night. The scar was small now. But to her it was a badge of something far greater, choice. Later that morning, she stood on shaky legs and walked outside. No chains on her wrists, no orders in her ear, just sky above and soft earth below. Jacob was fixing the broken fence like always, quiet, focused. She stood near him, watching. "Jacob," she said, "why didn't you ever treat me like they wanted you to?" He didn't stop working. "Because I saw you weren't a weapon. You weren't a curse. You were someone lost. Just like me." She stepped closer. "I was given to you as a punishment." "Maybe they didn't understand what they were doing," Jacob said. "Maybe they didn't see that two broken people can fix each other." That night, under the starlit sky, they sat together on the porch. Zarala held a warm cup of spiced tea, her fingers brushing Jacob's by accident. She didn't pull away. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. He shook his head. "Earth doesn't miss me. I was once meant to be queen of my world. And now?" She looked up. "Now I want to be, whatever this is." She turned to him. Her voice was soft, scared, brave. "I don't want to return to the stars." "Then stay." "Not as your guest." He blinked. "What do you mean?" She took his hand. "Jacob Fenn, human of Earth. I was sent to you in chains. I fought you, hated you, feared you. But now, if you'll let me, I choose to be yours. Not by law, not by force, but because I want to walk beside you, not behind you." Jacob stared at her. For a moment, time stopped. Then he said the words she never thought a human would say to an alien princess. "Will you marry me?"
Zarala,
She laughed, tears falling. "You beat me to it." The next morning, she sent one last signal into space. Not a cry for help, not a surrender. Just 4 words, broadcast to her people. "I choose the human." And with those words, empires trembled. High, above the planet in the hidden warship, Varric smashed his fist on the console. "She defies us. Marries the human? She dares—" But the Admiral only smiled. "No, let her go." "What?" "We gave her away as punishment. If she finds joy in it, then we were the fools." Varric stormed out. But deep down he knew. Something had changed forever, and it started with a broken alien girl and a quiet human farmer. Back on the moon, Jacob placed a small silver ring on Zarala's finger. No audience, no church, just wind and stars and silence. She smiled, and in that moment she wasn't a slave, wasn't a warrior, wasn't a daughter of a cruel empire. She was his, and he was hers. The vow that echoed through galaxies, the stars were quiet that night. Not even the wind stirred the trees. It was the kind of silence that only came after something ancient had ended, and something new was about to begin. On a lonely moon, where fire once burned and blood once stained the soil, 2 people stood hand in hand. One was human, the other was not, but their hearts beat in the same rhythm. Zarala wore no crown. She had taken it off long ago. Instead, she wore a simple dress stitched by her own hands from silver cloth. Her hair was loose, falling like a river across her shoulders. No paint, no royal symbols, only her true face. Jacob wore his old jacket, worn but clean. He had no ring of power, no medals, no armor, just calloused hands and a heart that had never given up. The wedding had no guests, no priests, no banners, only the moonlight, the trees, the stars, and the vow. Zerala took a deep breath. In my world, love was always traded, meant for power, used for control. I was born into duty. I was trained for politics. I was given away like a tool. But here, with you, I found something I was never allowed to want. She looked into his eyes. Freedom. Her hands trembled slightly, but she continued. You didn't buy me. You didn't command me. You didn't break me. You waited. A soft tear rolled down her cheek. So now I give myself to you. Not as a gift, not as a slave, but as an equal, as your wife. Jacob smiled. His voice was quiet but steady. They sent you to me, thinking it would destroy you. But they didn't know who you were. You weren't weak. You weren't fragile. You were fire hidden in flesh. You made me remember what kindness feels like, what fighting for someone really means. Held her hand tighter. Zerala, I vow this. I will not lead you. I will not follow you. I will walk beside you for as long as you'll let me. Then he whispered, my wife. They sealed their vows with a kiss. There was no applause, no music, but the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe had paused to witness what power could never create, a bond born from pain, but built on love. Days passed and then weeks. Zerala and Jacob lived in peace. They rebuilt the garden, cleaned the ash, planted new trees. And every night they sat under the stars, together. Word of their marriage spread slowly across the stars. Some laughed, some cursed, but others, those who lived under heavy rule in dark places, listened, and something strange began to happen. On distant planets, slaves whispered her name. Zerala, the princess who married a human. Some started to dream. On warships, quiet captains paused when reading reports. Earth was once weak, but now it held something stronger than weapons. Hope. On her own planet, artists began to draw her again, not as a traitor, but as a woman standing between two worlds. A symbol, a choice. One day, a small ship landed on the farm, not with soldiers, not with weapons, but with a girl, a young alien, no older than Zerala had been during her trial. She stepped down, shaking with fear. They were going to send me away, the girl said, to a rich warlord. I ran. Zerala welcomed her in. You're not alone anymore. By the end of the year, 4 more came, then 10, then more. Jacob and Zerala turned the house into a home, a place where the broken could heal, where people once tossed aside could stand again. One night, Jacob looked up at the stars and whispered, "What have we started?" Zerala rested her head on his shoulder. Something they can't stop. But peace, like fire, must be protected. And one day it was tested. A fleet arrived, not military, not invaders, but diplomats, curious, nervous, sent from several planets. They requested a meeting with her. Zerala walked into the room wearing the same silver dress she had married in, her golden eyes calm, her voice strong. "You come not to punish, but to understand?" They nodded. "Then let me explain." And she told them everything, not just her story, but the story of every girl who had come to them, every child who found family, every warrior who chose peace. "We are not rebels," she said. "We are not your enemies. We are proof that kindness is stronger than fear." The diplomats left in silence, but none of them forgot what they saw. Years passed. Jacob grew older. His hands grew slower, but his heart never did. Zerala never left his side. Together, they raised children, not by blood, but by bond. alien children, human children, mixed children, and all of them called her one name, Mother Zarala. In the heart of the forest, a small stone stands to this day. It reads, "Here once stood a farm, where a human taught a warrior how to love, and a slave taught a soldier how to forgive." Across galaxies, her story is still told. Some say it's myth, some say it's real, but those who carry pain in their hearts, they believe. Because somewhere out there, a princess chose a farmer and changed the stars forever. The end.